Talking SEC recruiting here at the Voice of College Football. And even though we're in the midst of the play on the field, of course, recruiting never stops and never stops for Leanne Herring, the Rebel Walk Director of Recruiting, stopping by. And Leanne, we're happy to see you, and that know that you're going to stop by every week to get us an update on recruiting across the SEC and the nation and some of the prospects that you're looking at. You've got your eye on the Douglas County Langston Hughes game tonight. So who's going to be in this game that you're looking for?
This is a great matchup out of Georgia. Of course, two schools that have really have promising depth, trying to get it back to the state championship. These two teams right now, Georgia, of course, started their high school football season a couple weeks ago, so they're already 2-3 games in. Langston Hughes is 2-0 right now. Douglas County is 3-0. Their roster is pretty deep, full of 4 stars. I believe they have 22 players currently that have college offers. Langston Hughes has 27 players right now, 3 stars, 4 stars as well that have college offers. For Douglas County, like I said, their roster has a lot of depth right now, and we're definitely going to be concentrating more on Douglas County, but there are a couple guys on Langston Hughes. For Douglas County, like I said, they're going back not to a state championship, but they're trying to get a state title in their program, which hasn't happened in 1964. So they're like I said, they're 3-0 right now, and Langston Hughes is 2-0. But somebody's gonna walk out of the Friday Night Lights, unfortunately defeated. But like I said, a lot of promising talent. So Ole Miss has always gone out in different places. And like I said, I've been going back and forth between Texas and Georgia, but I will say, Georgia's got a lot of talent as far as high school. I was in Georgia a couple weeks ago looking at Milton and Buford. And what I will say, is even though I've watched a lot of Texas talent, what you see about the Georgia kids that makes them so appealing and why a lot of SEC schools want to go after it is I call kids that are hybrid players. A lot of these kids play multiple positions. They're really good at adapting and adjusting. And with things like the transfer portal, we see that high school recruiting, high school kids, a lot of them these days, they have to work twice as hard to be able to catch eyes, even the 4-star and 5-star kids, because, right away, college coaches aren't looking to high school recruiting the same way that they are looking at the transfer portal. So you see a lot of these kids learning to adapt and adjust. And I've seen it out a lot in Georgia, and I think that's why they catch a lot of the eyes. But going back around full circle, some of the kids we're going to be looking tonight at Douglas County. I'm going to focus on the 2026 kids. There's a lot of, 27 and 28 talent, but, Douglas County 2026s are the immediate. They're going to be looking off. First off, I think everybody's looking at him. 6'4" Jordan Carter. He has over 47 offers right now, including one from Ole Miss. He's the number 2 edge in the country. When you see this kid just on his film and when you see him in person, he's one of those kids that his talent is what I call translated. There's a lot of kids you see in person. There's a lot of kids you see in film and vice versa. And they just don't translate it. But this kid right now, you just watch him and you see him. He creates a lot of chaos for offenses. So he's going to be a key player tonight in Douglas County and down the road. And we're looking at him. Another kid that I've been watching for an extremely long time, even before he got his Ole Miss offer, is a talented wide receiver, also class of 2026, is a name that is a national name now, is Aaron Gregory, a wide receiver, super shifty, super talented route runner. When you see him, like I said, when the ball gets in his hands, he's going to make plays. Like I said, he's as advertised. He's got a really, really keen sense of radar. I call it that internal radar. He's really able to read defenses really well and know how to find a way to break away. So he's another receiver that we've been looking at for quite some time. Another kid we're looking at is Devin Carter, another wide receiver, super talented out of Douglas County. Like I said, he's an interesting when you watch him. Like I said, when his hands get the ball, he's really good at being able to create plays. And he gets in the end zone a lot, just like Aaron Gregory. So I think he's a good combination. Another kid that we're looking at is Robert Tyson. He's a cornerback. He actually will be one of our visitors this weekend at Middle Tennessee. He's a really talented quarter, got a lot of good speed, really comes off the jump. He's really good on the one-on-one matchups, which I really like him. And lastly, out of Douglas County is a dual threat quarterback, DJ Bordeaux. Like I said, what makes him really interesting as a quarterback, because Lane Kiffin is and his staff is known for developing quarterbacks. And what I like about DJ is he's one of those kids that you can put him on the run, you can put him on the pass, and he's just as effective. So I think he's one of those kids that we're looking at. He still has a way to go as far as developing, but right now when you put the ball in his hands, I like his diversity, a true dual threat quarterback. And I think with the high school kids, especially at the quarterback position, you see them having to be able to be just as strong as they are with their arm and on the ground. So those are a couple kids that we're looking at for Douglas County today.
So teams trying to gather wins on the field, and obviously that impacts recruiting to a certain extent. It depends on the situation, depends on the player, and whether they're looking long term or whether those wins and losses this season are going to impact. Just based on the players you're tracking, any possible commitment dates that are out there, what's on your radar just across the board right now?
As far as Ole Miss, I think, of course, the biggest one that we're waiting on is Ladarian Clardy. He came to visit this past week. He's a highly talented and highly recruited safety. Of course, there was a lot of talk that he would make his early commitment to Ole Miss, but then, of course, as in true recruiting, fashion, there was other teams like Washington who've come into play and some other teams that come into play. So I think now, and so he set back his commitment date. And I think for a lot of these kids, what we see is, and then I said it a couple shows ago, that especially with the high school recruiting, a lot of them have been committed to certain programs for a long time. But with the summer and things like that, now they're really trying to take visits, official and unofficial visits, to really say, hey, is this the place I want to be? Or maybe they feel like there's another university or another program that might be a better fit. And that's what we're going to see a lot. That's why I always say it's a long way till the signing day. And we're going to see a lot of shifts as we see the games go, and especially play, because a lot of these commits that have, flipped to other schools or thinking about flipping, they're waiting to see how Alabama's really going to be. Is Alabama really going to be the same? Is this where I want to go play, or vice versa? So we're going to see a lot of shifts. And, as far as commitments, I think Ladarian Clardy is the one that we're looking at. Of course, Caleb Cunningham, he's SIP made, but he's not SIP State at the moment. He was committed and then, of course, flipped to Alabama. He's also a kid that we're going to be continuing to go after, despite he did come to visit this past weekend. So I think, but again, it's a long way till December. So I feel like we're not going to, we'll see a lot of shift in the commitment down the road, because these kids are going out and making their visits. They're still trying to play the field. And I don't say that in an ugly way, playing the field like they're trying to, but at the same age, they have to go to a program that's a good fit for them, where they can have their talent excel.
You've enlightened me on SIP and SIP State. Where did that start?
I think that's just one of those things that the coaches have just done such a great job in doing. It was the Ole Miss coaches that made SIP State. As soon as one of our kids, was born in Mississippi and decided to commit, it just kind of became, and then it's just like everyone was using it. SIP made SIP State. But I think what I've really loved to see with Lane Kiffin and his staff, especially a lot of the talented recruiters and things within the program that have ties to Mississippi. That was one thing that Ole Miss hadn't done so much, and you see a lot of programs doing within their state, is trying to keep their talent in state. Same thing. Texas has always been really good about keeping their talent in state, but Ole Miss and a lot of other programs like Georgia, are looking to see and do the same. So it's been really interesting to see the push for the in-state recruits to stay home and to be SIP made and SIP State.
Folks, you can catch Leanne's work at the Rebel Walk, where she is the director of recruiting, and she's got a full weekend every weekend with high school, college, and on into the NFL. Leanne, enjoy the football this weekend.
Thank you, and hotty toddy.